Welcome back, focused learners. Let's just jump straight into it today, shall we? If you've ever tried to reason with a teenager at, say, 8 a.m., you know it can feel a bit like navigating a roller coaster completely blindfolded, right? It's an era defined by massive transitions, intense emotional highs and lows, and behavior that's just, well, unpredictable. But today, we're going to completely demystify that chaotic nature of teenage behavior in this explainer. We'll look at exactly what is happening under the hood and, crucially, how we can actually provide the right kind of support using some really structured, proven techniques. Okay, let's dive into this. To really wrap our heads around the youth experience, we have to start with a big, fundamental question. Why are the teenage years so chaotic? When we look at young adults, we're seeing individuals navigating an absolute storm of intense emotions. They're making huge life decisions about their futures, their careers, and their relationships, all while under some very real, very heavy pressure from peers and social media. From the outside, it can kind of look like they're just being difficult or impulsive on purpose, but the truth is actually far more fascinating. And here is the crazy biological twist. Their brain's control center is literally still a construction zone. Think scaffolding, hard hats, the whole shebang. So when we expect young people to constantly act with perfect logic and restraint, we're essentially asking them to use a piece of biological hardware that just isn't finished yet. It's physically incomplete. To get super specific here, the region we're talking about is the prefrontal cortex. You can think of this as the brain's ultimate mental control center. This is the exact area that's in charge of judgment, impulse control, emotional regulation, and long-term thinking. Basically, it's the part of your brain that steps in to help you pause, plan your next move, and stay perfectly steady when the pressure is on. But here is where the timeline creates a bit of a collision course. Think about how this maturation process actually unfolds. In the early years, the emotional centers of the brain form. Then, boom, as we hit the teenage years, reward-seeking behaviors absolutely peak. But as we move further down that timeline, that prefrontal cortex, that vital control center we just defined, doesn't actually finish developing until around the mid-20s. This creates a massive biological gap. The emotional, reward-seeking parts of the brain are fully online, firing on all cylinders, way earlier than the calming, decision-weighing part that's supposed to manage them. Now, what's really interesting about all this is how this biological delay perfectly explains the everyday reality we see in youth. Because of this gap, young people feel emotions incredibly intensely. They act on impulse before thinking things through. They naturally struggle to manage stress on their own. They're super vulnerable to peer pressure, and they honestly find it really hard to picture the long-term consequences of their actions. It's like they have the gas pedal fully pressed to the floor, but the brakes, yeah, the brakes are still being installed. So, the absolutely crucial point to remember is this. None of this is a flaw. It is entirely 100% normal development. If you're a parent or a mentor, you can take a big sigh of relief right now. Understanding this biological reality completely reframes how we look at youth behavior. It takes away so much unnecessary guilt for both the kids and the adults trying to support them. We can drop the judgment and move straight into understanding. And once we get the mechanics of the developing brain, well, we can pivot to a highly actionable solution. Section 1, the bridge, mindset training. Since that prefrontal cortex is still busy growing, we can actually step in and provide a temporary bridge. We can proactively teach youth how to understand and guide their own thoughts, helping them build inner strength while their brain physically wires itself up to do it automatically. Just like the quote says, the brain is like a muscle. Repeated practice turns mental exercises into natural skills. Mindset training isn't just some abstract, feel-good idea. It is active mental conditioning. The brain literally grows stronger in the patterns we use the most. By intentionally practicing good mental habits, youth can actively shape the way their brain responds to whatever life throws at them. Let's move right into Section 2, the athlete's playbook. To really see how this active conditioning works out in the real world, let's look at one of the clearest examples we have. Sports. Elite coaches don't just teach the rules of the game, right? They meticulously train their athletes on how to mentally prepare to perform at their absolute best under intense pressure. Now, let's break down the core traits here. Athletes are taught to embrace challenges, approaching setbacks with curiosity instead of defeat. They focus on personal progress, measuring themselves against their past, not just the competition. They develop unbreakable self-belief, practice mindfulness to stay completely present, and deeply understand the mind-body connection, using rest and nutrition to drive mental performance. Top all of that off with a growth mindset, using visualization to rehearse success, and positive self-talk to drown out harmful inner narratives. Every single one of these proven traits builds serious resilience. And the best part? They apply directly to everyday youth development,
way beyond the playing field. All right, section 3, rewiring for everyday life. Let's move to and see how this builds, because you definitely do not have to be an elite athlete to benefit from these mental exercises. Any young person can adapt these exact same sports principles to navigate school, social drama, and personal pressures with so much more strength and clarity. One of the fastest ways to start this rewiring process is by checking in on our inner voice. Think about the contrast here. On one hand, negative self-talk breeds doubt and insecurity. It completely tears down our resilience. But shifting from that critical inner narrative to empowering affirmations, which are those short, uplifting statements we repeat daily, builds incredible confidence and motivation. It literally stops self-doubt right in its tracks. And here is a truly mind-blowing biological fact about our brains. We have the power to consciously shift our thoughts immediately, and by doing so, we physically reprogram our brain's wiring. Affirmations actually create brand new neural pathways in our brains. They allow us to physically think differently about ourselves and what we're capable of. We are, quite literally, building a stronger brain just with our words. How cool is that? So, how do we actually put this into practice today? Well, here are 4 simple, actionable shifts to start training the brain right away. Number 1, adopt a growth mindset. Start viewing perceived failures as nothing more than really valuable learning opportunities. Number 2, focus on personal progress. Measure your growth against your own past. It really helps reduce that crushing pressure of comparing yourself to everyone else. Number 3, practice mindfulness. Use some deep breathing or just focus on being present to manage stress and stay grounded. And finally, number 4, prioritize physical well-being. Remember that mind-body connection from the athlete's playbook? Taking care of your body through rest, hydration, and good food directly supports your mental resilience. The mind and the body, they are simply a packaged deal. These aren't just abstract concepts, folks. They are practical, daily habits that act as the scaffolding for a developing brain. They give young people the judgment and the emotional balance they need to really reach their full potential. Which leaves us with this final, vital question. How will you start training your mind today? Whether you're a young person navigating these chaotic years, an adult looking to support them, or maybe you're just looking to upgrade your own thought patterns, the power to rewire your brain is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep practicing, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.